Hello makers, welcome back to the workbench. If you didn't catch my video on how I do the leather hat patches, there's one that I did. Here's another one. Go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link somewhere on this screen. But I had somebody comment and ask if I had a video on the process. So I've got a customer that wants me to put a logo on a patch for them. So I'm going to record that. Let's go ahead and jump into that. So what I have open right now is Inkscape, and that's where I do my editing, because on my laser I use a program called K40 Whisper. Like you can see here, to raster engrave it uses black, to vector engrave it uses blue, to vector cut it uses red. So first thing I'm going to do is open up a template here. So what I've got, let me bring this into full screen here. So I went ahead and I've drawn all my basic shapes that I do hats in. And I have, like I said, in K40 Whisper, red is your cut line, blue is your vector engrave, and that's where I cut the small black line that I use for a stitch guide. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is import in my customer's logo. He has provided me a PNG. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything with the default settings. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to select the PNG, and then I'm going to go up here to Path and then Trace Bitmap. I'm going to leave everything default. I'm going to remove the background and click OK. Once that's done, you can click and hold and you'll see that there is now a trace bitmap of the PNG. We're going to select the original PNG and delete that. Now, I believe this image is probably going to go best down in this circle. So I'm going to click my Control key and drag that image where I feel it will best fit in this circle. That looks about good size. So I'm going to bring it over here, grab my zoom tool, and zoom to this circle. Next, we're going to have the logo selected and then hold the shift key and select the shape. Come over to the align and distribute tool. And we're going to center on the vertical axis and then center on the horizontal axis. And that way, this logo fits perfectly inside of this shape. Again, the black is going to be raster engraved, the blue is going to be vector engraved, and the red is going to be vector cut. Now, I try to give all my customers some different options. So let's take this logo and put it in a different shape. I'm going to come up here to zoom. I'm going to go back to the page. I'm going to right click on there, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And let's look here. I think we're going to put this logo up here in this shield. So I'm going to come in here and zoom. To align and distribute, you select the logo and then click Shift and select the shape. Center on the vertical axis and then center on the horizontal axis. Now, this looks good, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this text and only keep the brand in here. So I'm going to select on the logo I'm going to come up here and go path, break apart. And that's going to break this up. And I'm going to delete everything I don't want. Delete that circle. I'm going to delete this established. I'll type that back in. And I'll delete so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to retype the Spitzer Ranch LLC logo and I'm going to place it on this curve. But the thing I have to do now is I got to turn that into a path. So I'm going to go Object, Ungroup. Fortunately, I have to do that twice. Object, Ungroup. Now that I've got that broke apart, I'm going to come up here and go Object to Path. And that's going to make this a path. I'm going to come over here with my text tool. Let's look at what text. I think I'm going to use this Microsoft Sans Serif. Let's say about 20. Let's go 20. Set as default. And cap locks. Let's move this. Yeah, I think that's going to be about the right size. So to set this text along the path, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to select the text. I'm going to hold Shift and select the path. Go to Text and put on Path. Now what you can see is my text is going the wrong direction. So to fix that, we're going to select the path. Go to Path and click Reverse, and that flips the text to the other side. I'm going to select the text, use my down arrow key, and move that down into the shield shape. I've got the text put down into the shield, but I want to make sure it's centered, so I select the text, hold my Shift key, select the path, come back over to Align and Distribute, and I'm going to align on the vertical axis. That's going to shift that over. The next thing we have to do in here is we got to type in this established in 1982. That'll be pretty simple. I'll grab the text tool again. I'll come in here. That text seems, I would say that text looks large, so I'm going to grab my text tool, highlight my text, come back over to text and font. I'm going to change that down, let's say to 14, click Apply. That size looks good. I'm going to drag it over to about where I want it. And I want to center it again. So I'm going to select the text, hold Shift, select this upper path, Align and Distribute, center on a vertical axis. Last thing I'm going to do is I want to increase this brand. So we broke everything apart. So now we've got to select both pieces and regroup these. So I'm going to select the S first, then select this, go up to Object and click Group. Now this is one object. I'm going to select it, hold the Control key, and I'm going to drag it. That size looks good. Again, I want to finally center this, so I'm going to select the brand, hold Shift, select the upper object here, click center on the vertical axis, and there we have it. We might just take this and move it up just a little. Let's take a look at these. Let's go zoom, page. And now we have 2 patches ready to send to the customer for their proof before we cut these. What we can do now is we're going to just delete the other ones. I'm going to highlight all this one. I'm going to come up here to Object and Group. Come down to this one. So Object and Group. And the final thing, we're going to come in here and go Edit, Resize Page to Selection. I messed that up and I only put around the 1 image, so I selected both of them, go back to Edit, Resize Page to Selection. All right, so that's how I get logos ready to cut on my K40 laser using Inkscape. If you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and ring that bell for future notifications. Tomorrow, I'm going to cut these patterns on my laser, so I'll do another video of how I prep my leather and cut them and then prepare them to put on the hat.